What's going on? My name's Robert, and you are watching Southpaw Auto Works. This video is all about the pressure regulator valve out of the 4L60E automatic transmission. In this video, we're going to cover what it is, why it's needed, and how it works. I previously put together a video about the 4L60E pump. It covers the basics like how it sucks fluid in and pushes fluid out. If you haven't done so already, I highly recommend that you watch that video first prior to watching this one about the pressure regulator valve, as I believe that it'll make it easier to understand the concepts discussed in this video. You can find a shortcut to that video in the video card up here, or you can find a link to it in the video description down below. Here's the pressure regulator valve train. It's comprised of a pressure regulator valve, an outer spring, an inner spring, also known as an isolator spring, a boost valve, a boost sleeve that houses the valve, and a snap ring that retains the valve train within this section of the pump. The PR valve is responsible for regulating line pressure. Line pressure is the highest working hydraulic pressure within the transmission. If you hook up a pressure gauge to the side of the 4L60E transmission, it's line pressure that would be observed. The pressure varies anywhere from 55 psi to over 300 psi. This pressure is used for a number of things within the 4L60E. For example, line pressure is used to apply the clutch packs. As previously mentioned, the pressure regulator valve train establishes line pressure. Line pressure varies anywhere from 55 psi to over 300 psi. You may ask, why do the pressures vary so wildly? Well, the clutch packs are engaged by line pressure. Under light load, the clutches need minimal amounts of pressure applied to them in order to not slip. However, under heavy loads, clutches need a lot more pressure applied to them to prevent clutch slippage. When clutches slip excessively, they burn up, resulting in transmission failure. In order to understand how the PR valve works, we need to take a quick step back to the basics so we can figure out how the fluid actually makes its way to the pressure regulator valve. The 4L60E pump is comprised of two halves. You've got the pump cover and the pump body. Fluid is sucked into the pump through here. This is where your transmission filter would be installed. That fluid makes its way into this port, like so. From here, the fluid is drawn into the pump vane pockets or chambers. Fluid can enter the vane chambers right here, and this would be hooked to the engine and will be rotating at engine speed. Fluid's drawn in here and travels around this direction, where it's pushed out right here. Fluid exits the chambers into this outlet port. From here, fluid makes its way through a passageway, like so. Just so you know, normally there would be a filter living right here in the pump. However, I pulled it out so we could shine the light in there and you could see that there is indeed a passageway on the inside of that casting. So fluid exits the vane pump, makes its way through this port, and as soon as it enters this passageway, the fluid becomes what is known as line pressure. And from here going forward, it's going to be line pressure until it's not. There are different fluid pressures within the transmission. Once again, line pressure is the highest working transmission pressure at any given point in time. So fluid leaves this port, goes through this passageway here, makes its way down to here, and this is kind of an intersection here. Fluid goes in a number of directions all at once. One of the directions it can go is down this way, all the way down to this port here. This goes down into the transmission case. Long story short, it makes its way down to the valve body. From there, it can feed clutch packs and a number of other circuits. Another direction the fluid can go is into this port right here. This port here feeds the pressure tap that's located on the outside of the transmission case. This is where you can hook up a pressure gauge and observe line pressure. Fluid also heads this direction, and this is where the pressure regulator valve lives. There's two holes in the pressure regulator valve, as the valve is partially hollow. Fluid enters this hole right here, and it makes its way out through this stem to this hole. Quick lesson on the fundamentals of valves. The thin part or skinny part is called the valve stem. These thicker parts are called valve lands, and they're used to allow fluid to enter ports, and they're used as a doorway to close off ports. This thicker part here down at the end is just a spot for the springs to work against on the valve itself. I'm using a magnet to install the pressure regulator valve and the large outer spring. If I can rotate this, there we go, we can see the hole in the valve right there. As previously discussed, oil exits the vane portion of the pump into this discharge port. It immediately becomes what is known as line pressure, the highest working pressure within the automatic transmission. Fluid travels through this passageway here, through the filter that would normally live here, comes around this bend like so, and from here it goes in a number of directions. The next direction the fluid can go is through the valve itself. So it'll enter that tiny little hole in the valve, travel through the valve itself out to the end of the valve where there's another hole, and now line pressure starts filling this tiny little chamber right here, and it begins to pressurize. Why does the fluid get pressurized? Well, pumps don't create pressure. All pumps do is displace fluid or move fluid. So it draws fluid into the pump, pushes it out of the pump. But within the automatic transmission, fluid encounters both restrictions and dead ends. So as the fluid goes to, say, a clutch pack, it's going to dead end in the clutch pack. The clutch pack only needs so much fluid. It fills up, engages the clutch, and now we don't need any more fluid for that. Same goes with other circuits. But the point is, the fluid encounters restrictions and dead ends, and because the pump keeps pushing fluid out, now pressure starts to build within the transmission. And the pressure that exists in here, it exists everywhere that fluid goes. It's the same amount of pressure everywhere, including this little spot right here. So as the pressure climbs in this spot right here, and it starts pushing on this valve. And right now there's two forces acting on this pressure regulator valve. At one end, we've got hydraulic pressure, and it's line pressure, whatever that may be. As we know, it can vary anywhere from 55 psi to over 300. And at the other end of the valve, we've got a spring acting on the valve. There's actually two springs, but for this video, we're only going to focus on the one spring. So this spring's pushing the valve this direction, and the hydraulic pressure is pushing the valve this direction. And it's kind of like a tug of war in that sense. One of them has to win. So as pressure starts to rise here, the valve starts moving this direction against spring pressure. And as the valve moves that direction, what happens is this port underneath this partition, this port becomes open. Line pressure travels through this partition or this passageway into this passageway here, which is known as the converter feed. So this, as the name implies, feeds the torque converter. It also happens to feed the transmission cooler, and as a byproduct of that, it feeds the lube circuit. More on those circuits in another video. Let me reset the valve, and this time, while the valve's moving, instead of paying attention to this partition and this port through this section, we're going to take a look at this partition and see when that opens. So it's and if you look closely down inside the bore right now, we can see a land in there right now. Let me move it. You can see that land moving back and forth. Well, as pressure builds and the valve starts moving, that land moves, and we start to see another land come into the picture. Now that land enables line pressure to access this passage right here, which is called the decrease passage. So as the pressure builds here, the valve starts moving against spring pressure. The valve comes this direction. We've got one land. Then there's the beginning of our second land. And as soon as that land clears right there, now line pressure is able to come into the decrease passage or decrease circuit. And it looks like it dead ends right here. But if we look at the other pump half, we can see that the fluid actually continues on. Now, this pump half is a mirror or backwards of what we were just looking at. It's a mirror image. So the PR valve train was on this side of the other pump half. On this side, since it's flipped, we're actually over here. This square right here is where the springs are visible on the other pump half, the PR valve spring. At any rate, so this is the line pressure circuit here. Line pressure enters the valve right here, if we could see the valve. And as the valve moves far enough, now line pressure is able to go through this partition here, through the passageway, and into what's called the decrease passage or decrease circuit. So we can see on this side it doesn't dead end right here. The passageway actually comes into here, comes all the way over to this edge of the pump slide. This is the pump slide. This whole guy here that actually slides back and forth, as the name implies. But the fluid comes in and fills all the way up to here to the seals in the pump slide, and then all the way over to here where there's a pivot pin which also acts as a seal. Normally we would have two pretty stout springs living right here, compressed into this pocket, and these springs push the pump slide in the direction that it's in right now. Let me move it back. If the springs were compressed, it'd be like so, but without any oil behind here, the springs push this slide this direction, and that has an impact on the displacement of the pump. So how much fluid it sucks in, and ultimately how much fluid it pushes out of the pump. So as the decrease circuit is activated and line pressure comes in here, it fills up this whole circuit right here, and it starts pushing on this slide much like a piston. The pressure becomes great enough that it easily overcomes the spring pressure, and the slide moves this direction. And what that does is it has an impact on the size of the chambers located between the vanes. So long story short, it's going to output less fluid. And by outputting less fluid, we're going to lower line pressure. But by lowering line pressure, now our valve's going to move again. So as line pressure drops, the pressure that's inside of this section of the pump that's acting on the valve, pushing the valve this direction against spring tension here, this pressure drops as the pump outputs less fluid. So now there's less pressure to push against the springs, and now the springs start winning. And what's the valve do? It starts moving back this direction. So when it moves that direction, this passageway in here that leads to this decrease circuit, the passageway is closed off, so line pressure can no longer come into that circuit. Also, the other valve land, it opens up the exhaust. So all the fluid pressure that was built up behind that slide, it can now be relieved. Everything exhausts out, goes through this passageway, and goes this direction, which this leads back down to the oil pan. So as the pressure is bled off right here and it makes its way back over to the exhaust, which is right here, the springs that were previously compressed, the springs now win the battle and push the slide back. And this action makes it so the pump is now outputting the maximum flow again. So as pressure is relieved, the valve closes again. And now pressure has the opportunity to build back up, and the valve starts opening. And this just keeps cycling back and forth. Maximum output of the pump, minimum output of the pump, or somewhere in between. So we now understand that the pressure regulator valve is responsible for regulating line pressure. We also know the line pressure can range anywhere from 55 psi to over 300 psi. We also understand that the pressure regulator valve doesn't operate all by itself. It utilizes several springs, a boost valve, and a boost sleeve in order to conduct business. In this instance, I'm using the pressure regulator valve and the large outer spring. I've omitted the smaller inner spring and the boost valve. If I was to stack this into the pump, the stack up would look something like so. Now I do want to warn you, you never want to install the pressure regulator valve as pictured here. It's missing components, and if you do install it this way, you're guaranteed to have a transmission failure, and you don't want that. Why in the world would I show you this stack up? Well, I did it to make a point. So the pressure regulator valve, as mentioned before, has oil acting on the valve at one end and spring pressure acting on the other end of the valve, and it's a tug of war. Well, with just the larger spring installed into the system, the pressure regulator valve will regulate its base line pressure, and that happens to be 55 psi for the 4060E. and it's pretty close to that for all other automatic transmissions. So once again, you don't want to leave parts out when you go to install your pressure regulator valve and the rest of the valve train. I only did this to make a point. If this valve train setup will regulate a line pressure of 55 psi, it begs the question, well, how do you get the pressures up to over 300 psi? So in order for line pressure to exceed its baseline pressure of 55 psi, for it to go above that, we will need to introduce the boost valve and the small isolator spring. In the next video, we're going to cover exactly how those work to increase spring pressure at the spring end of the valve to combat the hydraulic pressure at the other end of the valve. More on how that works in the next episode. Thanks for joining me on this episode. If you enjoyed watching this video, let me know by hitting that like button. I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line in the comment section down below. Speaking of comments, let me know what questions you have, and I will create a follow-up video answering those questions. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. If you're interested in helping the Southpaw AutoWorks YouTube channel grow, there are a number of ways that you can get involved. You can find more information in the video description down below and at the end of this video. Thanks so much for your consideration. I will catch you in the next video.